Hi, everybody, and welcome to the first in what I hope is going to be a continuing series where not only do we recap what the bloggers have written on my Saturday blog roll, I would also like you to meet these bloggers and let them talk about what they do and how they put their blogs together and what blogging really means for them. So my guest right now is a really good friend. We used to blog together back in the day at the Albany Times-Union. He is a professor at the College of St. Rose in Albany. He's written a number of books, including a book called Shader. He is probably the most ardent Queen fan I know of. He could probably identify any Queen song within 2 notes or less. And he is the operator of the Pine Hills Review blog, which is pinehillsreview.com. Welcome to the portal, Daniel Nestor. Daniel, it's great to have you on the show. Thank you for joining me. How are you doing?
Doing great on this fine Sunday morning, Chuck. Nice to see you. Do you have a like a stuffed animal attacking you behind you, or is that
Oh, no, no, no. You know how the people in the Zoom conferences have like digital backgrounds or something so that when they move their head, suddenly their hair starts to disappear. My digital background is an old Sherpa blanket that's covering up a bookshelf right now.
okay? That explains things, kind of.
So
So
good.
that's good.
So Daniel, tell me about how you view blogging in general and how you feel about blogging personally.
When I think of blogging now, I kind of think of it as with elegiacally, meaning like I feel like it's been more or less replaced by social media posts and Twitter and Instagram and I think back to the days of the glory days of blogging as like a time that is almost like when people used sundials instead of clocks, but at the same time it was longer content, it was more personal content, there was more of a personal one-to-one conversation where people would link to other people's blogs. I think I remember when the new year came, there was a lot of people in like poet blogging who were like, let's bring this back. All those poet bloggers from the early 2000s. Let's go back at it again. The heck with like tweeting 20 times a day. Let's actually, write a couple paragraphs. And I actually think it should. I think it will come back in a larger sense. I think it's still around. Obviously, I mean, I read your blog, regularly, and like it has these, like all these different subtopics that go on, and strands of topics, and I just don't feel like it's been perfected beyond like blogging, meaning like, I mean, I guess you could hashtag the 4 or 5 different subjects like on a Twitter feed, but it wouldn't be the same thing. It wouldn't be part of the same thing. And you feel like you're doing your own publication, like, and you are, uh, where you feel ownership over it, as opposed to being in somebody else's sandbox, meaning like Twitter or Instagram or wherever.
Now, when you first started, my first knowledge of your blogging was when you did a stint with the Albany Times-Union. Can you give me some idea of how your concept of blogging operated at that point in time and how it's evolved to what you're doing today?
Well, I had blogged for years before the TU blog. Just there was one iteration that was unpleasantevent.blogspot.com. Did that for years, and that sort of morphed into an online literary magazine called Unpleasant Event Schedule, which is a medical editing term. I can explain that later, but I use that term. I used to own unpleasanteventschedule.com, which was amazingly available when I registered it, and so I did that for years, and it was largely concerned about being a writer and navigating the world of creative writing and poetry and a lot of inside baseball stuff. I think I did that for a solid 5-6 years. Then I sort of went straight arrow and did danielnestor.com and sort of actively blogged at my own like website. And then at some point, maybe like you, Michael Huber approached me and asked, like, would you want to do a blog at the Times-Union? And frankly, I thought I hit the big time. I was like, wow, like a blog for the Times-Union? Sure. And so I sort of came up with a concept for it. I wanted to be sort of funny, but snarky. And so I called it Comedy of Errors, Daniel Nestor's Comedy of Errors, Comedy of Manners. Shows how great a name that was. Or a Freudian slip. So how long did I do that? Like 3 years, 2 years? Not that long, but I blogged pretty hardcore for that certain period. And I really like worked on it. I really pegged lots of blog posts to local stories and to national stories. You know, I really tried to sort of become, because I would love to be a columnist. I would love to be one of those old time columnists who I wouldn't do the thing where I would go out and interview people. I just wanted to spout off like once a week. That's my dream. Like if somebody out there wants to give me a column, I come cheap. You know, with the cheesy photo, like, you know, like there. So I sort of approached it like that. And then I think gradually, you know, I got in touch with you and Kevin Marshall and a couple other people who were, you know, doing the TU blogs, and we exchanged ideas and, you know, developed opinions about like, wait a minute, we're doing this for free, right? You know, like there was that conversation. Then there was also sort of the gallows humor conversation about like the freaking unverified comments that you would get. And here's 3 white guys talking about it. I'm sure like the other bloggers are getting all kinds of venom to this day, because I still don't think they've verified that stuff.
No,
You know, or,
I mean,
you know.
and I guess one of the things with blogging is we do appreciate comments. We really love the interaction with readers, and readers have been known to give us great ideas for future columns, and readers will come quick to correct us when we've stepped in the wrong pile. And sometimes you get the trolls.
I actually like the interaction with other blog writers, other people who say here, you know, other people who are on not equal footing, but like other people who are still in the arena as well and have as much, not at risk, but have to say. I found, you know, I would get comments on my previous blogs a lot, but never as hurtful as the TU ones. I mean, people just troll you for the sake of trolling. I despised the comments on the TU blog. That was the reason why I left. I mean, otherwise I'd still be doing it. Like if I could actually, because I think there was a couple times where they were like, wow, people are complaining about you deleting the comments. And I was like, yeah, I'm deleting the comments. They, you know, like the 2 of them mentioned my children's by name, you know, like you know.
Yeah, you just don't go there. You don't mention children. You don't mention addresses. You're not doxing people. You don't suggest that their parents had unnatural relations, that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it really, and then I guess there was another blog that I did called "We Who Are About to Die." I don't know if that was around my Albany period, and that was what they call like a group blog, meaning like there was maybe 8 or 9 people who would regularly blog on that, and that was pretty inside baseball of like literary indie publishing, that sort of thing. And I started that because just for something to do, and that was fun. That was kind of intense, I guess. I mean, I actually feel like I'm out of the blogging game right now and I'd like to start again. But
Well, it seems
I'm putting all my energies in Pine Hills Review as far as in that arena, you know.
and let's definitely talk about Pine Hills Review. For those of you who have not had a chance to look at it, the Pine Hills Review has a tremendous amount of gifted poetry and writing from the students at the College of St. Rose.
Well, now I have to correct you, I guess. It's co-edited by me and students at the College of St. Rose, but the writing is from all around the world. So it's not like we're publishing poetry and fiction by students. They're actually picking the stuff, which I think is like a super approximation of like how it is in the real world. in publishing, certainly. So, but a lot of them interview the writers. So it's like a literary journal. So, and we also publish, I mean, some people from the greater Albany tech capital region, tri-county, whatever we call ourselves up here.
Capital District, Metroland, whatever.
Capital Tech, Metro, NIP land.
If you can reach 787 within 3 miles, you're in the Capital District.
Within 3 miles. Wow, that's a I guess it does snake. So that, wow, people in like I don't know what's east of like Cohoes, like Waterford,
probably Mechanicville, Half Moon. But the Pine Hills Review, I mean, I've read the poetry there, I've read some of the articles there. They are absolutely fantastic, and you and your team have done an amazing job of assembling really, really quality work. And
great stuff. And you have like not a small amount of photos, and I got to thank you for that. I mean, that was really, because when we first started, we were part of the MFA program at St. Rose, which sadly got discontinued, and I soldiered on keeping, because what we had started was really great, and it's named after the neighborhood. Well, anybody who's listening to this probably knows it's named after the Pine Hills neighborhood in Albany where St. Rose is located. And so I've kept it up, and I have 2 interns now teaching a class right now in online journal editing and publishing. And it's a blast. And we're actually doing a theme. Every time I teach the class, we do like a special call for work that centers around a theme. And last year was unicorns, and this year it's F2020. So
definitely want to mention that for anybody who is interested in putting together and saying, hey, maybe I could write for the Pine Hills Review, or I have a great concept that I want to throw out there. You have an opportunity. It's basically a call for entries, shall we say.
Yeah, and we've gotten some great submissions already. You must have some F2020 photos, don't you? Come on.
I believe I actually do. I may send you some.
Probably everything since March of 2020 is F2020 theme eligible, but yeah, and it's great. I think it touched on a nerve. Unicorns was took a while for when we started getting submissions, and then the unicorn freaks started showing up with like unicorn poems, unicorn stories, unicorn essays. So that's up on Pine Hills Review. And but the F2020 one's going to run in April, and it's the deadline is March 16th. So if you're seeing this after it, too late, but read it.
And now just a couple more things. I did mention before that you are probably one of the most predominant Queen fans out there, and I see your little statue of Freddie Mercury in the background there.
It's actually a doll. It's like a
statue, doll, miniature, action figure. What inspires you about the band Queen?
Oh, geez, everything. I mean, for me, it's like I think it's the sound. It's the sound of Brian May's guitar. It's the sound of Freddie's voice. It's the combination of those things. It's like, they're definitely more than the sum of their parts. Like when they get put together, they make a big noise, and they're not, and their styles vary so much. God, when I was 13, I was like, oh my God, they do an opera song, a disco song, and a gospel song. Like, how can that be? No, this band is the best in the world. And I kind of have never gotten past that. So that's my, in a nutshell.
Oh, listen, my first 45 was Bohemian Rhapsody. The first 45 that didn't have the word Disneyland or cricket on the cover.
So did you used to listen to I'm in Love with My Car on the B-side when you were a little?
Time, because at that point in life, I really couldn't afford to buy LPs. So I did flip over the 45, and I did hear I'm in Love with My Car. And when I bought You're My Best Friend, I think the B-side of that was 39.
Yeah.
And I did have reasonably decent sized collection of Queen 45s and later LPs.
Can I have them or
Let me go dig them out of the basement somewhere.
I actually like, you have to pick your battles when you're have an obsession. And for me, I just decided, you know what, I'm going to try to concentrate on the 45s. Like a good chunk of this is not all my albums, but like maybe 2 of these blocks are Queen albums. And so it's not that much. It's not like I have like 500 Queen albums, but 45s, I would say I probably have like 300 or something like that.
Okay.
Crazy.
Now, if you were approached by someone who said, Mr. Nestor, I would love to be a blogger, what is the one thing you could tell me that would make me become one of the best bloggers I could possibly be?
I thought you were gonna like talk me out of it. How do you I would say I'd have to say a couple of things, but one, I guess maybe the number one is like buy your own name domain, like have your own name or brand or whatever. Like I tell my students that all the time. I'm like, pay the $12 to have your name, own your own name domain and start from there. And then I guess it's like, don't be afraid to publicize your content, because having, there's great content out. I don't know how many times, and you probably do this. I do with your own blog. I'm like, wait a minute, you did a whole blog post where you walked us through rehabbing a drive-in speaker thing.
Oh,
Like I didn't know that, like, and so I'm not scolding you. I mean, I think you publicize your blog fine, but I think like if you're going to put together good stuff on your blog, you need to find a way to let people know that it's out there. And to do that in this day and age, like I think it means setting up an Instagram, setting up a Twitter, setting up a Facebook. I guess it also means, emailing people, whatever. You got to like pound the digital pavement to make sure people know you're out there. And I guess don't be afraid to, ruffle some feathers,
Oh, yeah. I mean, don't be afraid to talk about subjects that, challenge you.
Yeah.
Obviously, I've done that on occasion. I've written about some very painful things in my life, but I'm sure that a lot of times, if not just in blogging, but in writing in general, it was William Faulkner who I believe said that you need to speak from the heart and not from the glands.
Yeah. I mean, I think like writing to your own passions, like, I mean, right now I'm mulling over maybe starting like a yet another podcast, which I sort of think of as like the twin of blogging in a lot of ways. And I really have to sort of think through and make sure it's a concept that it's not just like my diary. Like it has to be sort of centered around something or have a hook, whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
So yeah. And it occurs to me now that like, I sort of talked about how blogging was sort of like not the primary way of digitally, communicating with people, but that's not true. I mean, now people are starting their own email newsletters like Substack and things like that. And that, if that isn't blogging, I don't know what is, because it ends up, those things are emailed to people, but they're on a website and they're hosted at Substack, right? So it's what's new, what's old is new again, I guess.
Exactly. Well, Daniel, I thank you so much for being part of this. This has been really, really fun. And for all of you, pinehillsreview.com. And if you feel that you have the ability to write a poem, a story, an article, anything, contact them. They have a call for entries right now of F 2020 stories about surviving the pandemic. Definitely contact them. It's pinehillsreview.com. Daniel Nestor, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Chuck, thank you so much. Thank you for everything you do and for promoting Pine Hills Review and all the other blogs. I mean, like you're sort of like the blog daddy of the Capital Tech Nippertown region.
Blog Daddy, I'm gonna be paying a ton load of child support.
That's a pull quote. I expect to see that like as a win.
That's right. That's like the old joke about Elizabeth Taylor's son getting carpal tunnel from writing all the Father's Day cards.
Oh my, I never heard that. That's a great joke.
Daniel, thanks so much for joining.
Take it easy. We'll talk soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.